Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
Welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio. Me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And guys, buckle up. Today's guest has lived through more life or death moments than most action heroes all combined. Gary Pacelli is a retired narcotics detective who survived an attempted murder, only to later break his neck during a skydiving accident that left him paralyzed from the neck down, while he was a mile above the earth. But get this, he didn't just survive, he recovered and he returned to the skies. We're going to talk about that. That's crazy. He's the author of the best-selling book, Not My Time. And trust me, after hearing his story, you'll understand exactly why. Gary, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Ken.
Yeah, so I know it's been a while. We had some back and forth in this and that, trying to get you on the show and everything, but I've been looking forward to this conversation because not only the amazing story and the things you've lived through, Gary, and the experiences you've had, but that's just the underlying theme of everything that I see is it's the resiliency. I mean, just crazy. But I mean, let's start with the obvious, Gary. Let me just cut right to the chase. How the hell are you alive right now?
I had a lot of help, to be honest with you. I often ask myself the same question. I think what it comes down to, and everybody has their beliefs, but again, I had a lot of help, and I think maybe I'm just too stubborn to die. I just would not give up, So I think that's what it is, really.
Yeah, well, and the title of your book kind of really says that. So you go from, chasing drug dealers to flying through the sky in a wingsuit. What were you chasing? Like, what made you get into skydiving, using wingsuits, et cetera, especially after, your career as a detective?
A lot of people say, it's adrenaline. Oh, you're an adrenaline junkie. It's not. It has not. After I got hurt, I was missing that camaraderie. You spend so much time with these same people. Like, you spend more time with them than you do with your family, and then you get hurt. You have some surgeries, and next thing you know, it's like you fall through a trap door and you're gone. And you go from going 100 miles per hour to zero, and it stops that quick. And you look around and you really don't know what to do with yourself. And a lot of guys, you can see how they decline rapidly, right? They'll try to chase that with drugs or alcohol or and I got lucky. I was falling down that hole. It was bad, which I'll explain, how I even began skydiving. It's a whole crazy story, but I happened to be driving past a skydiving center near my house, and I looked up, I saw parachutes, and I instantly, I had done a skydive in 1988. I was in the Marine Corps Reserves, right? It wasn't through the military, but it was with a friend of mine. It was the greatest thing in the world, so I said, I'm going to get my license, right? But life happens, and you just don't, right? Things happen, responsibilities. And so when I saw that parachute, I pulled right in. That was it. I was in the air 30 minutes later. I was going for a tandem jump, and that started it off. But getting there was it took me a few years after my the guy tried to kill me on the highway. So tell us about that, Gary. So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit here because I'm excited to talk about all these things. But yeah, let's start with that one. That's I should have started there. That's a crazy one, right? The very first one. Yeah, and it is kind of crazy. I when I was 18, I joined the Marine Corps Reserves, and I was working construction, and I just knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I went into the sheriff's office to ask for a job. I heard he was hiring temporary workers for the jail. So after work, I ran to the office to try to make an appointment, and I'm covered in concrete dust, and I was just there to make an appointment. The sheriff was in his office, and the door was open, and he yelled to the secretary, said, "Send him in." So I walked in, and I was covered with concrete dust, and I felt like such a dirtbag. I was like, "Oh, my shot's ruined," right? And I told him that I was in the Marine Corps Reserves.
soon as he heard that, he hired me on the spot. And 2 weeks later, I was working in the county jail, and I didn't know a thing. You know, I wasn't a city kid. You know, I grew up in a you know, middle class town in, you know, rural New Jersey, northern New Jersey. Next thing I know, I'm in a county jail, and you know, it was a whole new world, you know. But I liked it, you know, and I fell under the wing of some really great people, and they kind of took care of me and showed me the ropes. And you know, 3 years later, I went to the Corrections Academy. The sheriff sent me back to the police academy, and then I went on patrol. So again, I got lucky. You know, 2 weeks later, I walk into headquarters, and the motorcycle sergeant was there, and he looked at me and he said, "You have your motorcycle license?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You want to be on a motorcycle squad?" And I laughed just like that, because like, it's unbelievable, right? Like, who wouldn't want to be on a motorcycle squad, right? It's the greatest job in the world. So I started working as a motorcycle cop, but I did that for 10 years. And then I got promoted to detective, then narcotics. And then they started a special narcotics unit. So it was just guys from my department, 2 DEA agents. And we reported to no one except our sheriff and their boss, right? So we got a lot of work done. We were doing like cartel level stuff and money laundering, right? And it was really intense. It was a lot of fun, you know. Well, again, who wouldn't want to go to work wearing shorts and t-shirts and sandals, right, or flip-flops, right? It was because we were on surveillance most of the time, or undercover. So, you know, and the whole purpose is not to be seen, right? So, you know, the job was great. We were making a lot of great arrests. I think the biggest one we did was 440 kilos of coke, you know, which is a lot. It's you know, so one day, you know, we're working and everything's fine. It's summertime. It's a Friday. It was the second day of our surveillance, and we were kind of relaxed because we knew that the target was staying up there till Monday, right? We had an informant, so we kind of were, you know, kicking back a little bit. We weren't on guard, which, you know, is a mistake. So, but the mood all changed, and you know, and I'm very sensitive to stuff like that. I feel things like that, and I could just tell everything kind of got tense. So we had 10 undercover agents following this one guy, and we were going back and forth from New York City to Fort Lee, you know, which Fort Lee is the last town in New Jersey before New York. So we're just following this guy, no big deal, and we get a crazy order. Our sergeant says, "Hey, whoever's behind the car, and if he makes a U-turn towards his hotel, pull him over and ID him," which we don't.
So Gary, this is a great cliffhanger. We got to hit a break here. So okay. We got the U-turn, says pull him. If there's a U-turn, pull him over. It's going to be a great cliffhanger. Guys, come back after the break on Mr. Biz Radio. We'll hear the rest of Gary's crazy story. Okay. And then we'll get into some skydiving and some wingsuit stuff and that accident and his recovery and things like that. So come back after the break on Mr. Biz Radio.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and I'm sure you guys have been waiting. Gary and I talked about this a little bit during the break here, but I'm sure everyone's on the edge of their seats now because I cut you off there. But it's a great cliffhanger. All right, so you're doing surveillance. You guys kind of let your guard down a little bit. Come over to the radio. Hey, if you see this guy U-turn, go ahead and pull him over. What happened after that?
It just happens to be me because everybody got tied up on the bridge. So, everybody lost us. So I was the only one behind him. So I pulled him over, and we don't do stops like this. We're not prepared for it, so it's very strange that we had to do it, but we did it. So I walk up to the vehicle and I asked for his driver's license. I clearly had my badge hanging out. I had lights on my car, whatever. He knew who I was.
Yeah.
So when I went to grab his driver's license, he pulled it in. So I make a mistake and I reach into the car and he hooks my arm and he hits the gas. And he starts going back onto Route 4, which is a major highway in New Jersey. I'm running to keep up, but I'm still, hooked in the car. I could probably yank my arm out, but I know if I do, I'm going to fall and the back tires are going to run me over. So I don't know why, I dive into the car, right? So now I'm hanging in the car, half in, half out, right? I'm on the guy's lap looking at him, and I look over my shoulder and he's going for the concrete divider. He's going to just squash me and just throw me off the car, right? So, yeah. I just hear this like roar in my head, shoot him now, bang, right? Next thing I know, I'm just tumbling down the highway, right? I don't remember pulling my weapon, anything like that, but I'm just tumbling. And I stop tumbling on all fours. I look up, I got a tractor trailer coming right at me. Okay. And it was like so close that I didn't even think to move, right? I get yanked out of the way. It goes screaming past me. My partner had shown up just as the guy took off, right? So talk about luck, luck on top of luck here, 11 surgeries. I'm medically retired. Again, it's like you get shot out of a cannon, really. You're gone, 100 miles an hour to 0. Always getting operated on. I put on 100 pounds, right?
Oh, wow.
I'm losing myself in like this cloud of like self-pity and pain pills, it's horrible, right? One day I'm looking at a picture of me and my family and I can't recognize myself, and it felt like being hit in the chest, right, with a sledgehammer, but it woke me up. And I lost weight, got back in shape. I felt good, but I was missing something. So that's when I started skydiving, to replace that camaraderie, with the guys, it's the equipment, like the whole, it's so similar to like police, work. So that first year I did 340 jumps.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I just went, nuts, and I started wingsuiting. So everything was going great. The next year, 2022 rolls around. We start up again and we're jumping and, like fear and courage, they come together, right? You can't have one without the other, right? So, I go to get on a plane and I have that feeling, right? Fear, but then I'm like, no, you know what? I can do it, whatever. But I knew something was wrong. I get on a plane anyway. My suit didn't fit right. It was too small, and it was too short and too tight. Okay, it was a rental suit, because you don't buy your wingsuit until you get like really good at it,
Yeah, makes
sense.
sense.
So I get on a plane anyway, and you're the inner voice, right? That inner dialogue, don't jump, ride the plane down, don't jump. I ignore it, which is a bad mistake. So the light turns green, I get to the door, I'm out the door, and the flight goes great. Everything's going fantastic. my altimeter starts to beep. I reach back, I deploy my parachute, and I immediately think, you got to slow down enough, right? And I didn't slow down enough. I didn't take into consideration the suit being shorter, so it made me fly at a steeper angle, which meant I was going super fast, right?
Okay.
So I didn't slow down enough, and the canopy hits the wind and opens like instantly. Our canopies are designed to open slowly, right? Mm-hmm. So my head snaps back, and I hear the loud crunch of my neck breaking, right? Oh. And I feel this electrical charge go from my neck all the way down to my toes. And as it does, my body goes limp, and that's it. I'm a mile high, I'm totally paralyzed. So I can't grab my toggles, so I can't steer, I can't slow down. I'm basically just, a floating, feather, really,
Yeah.
So, at that moment, I knew that I was going to die, because, there's a lot that goes into it, like all the calculations in your head really quick, right? And yeah. I knew that, because of the way my canopy flies, add that to the wind at my back, I'm going to hit the ground between 30 and 40 miles per hour with a broken neck. Right. It's like, there's no way I can survive that. So, but I decided that, what, I'm going to die, but I'm going to die fighting, I'm going to do something, right? So, I settled down and I realized that, okay, I just learned how to steer my canopy using my body weight. So at least if I could burn off the altitude, I can crash close to the drop zone, to the airport. So, and it was good that I was able to concentrate on staying disciplined, doing those turns, because it kept my mind from wandering into some really, nasty places,
Yeah.
And because my initial reaction was to give up, right? Because, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And so you think, okay, you accept your fate, right? But then that little fire inside, right, it starts to burn, and it's like, no way, I'm not doing that. I'm going out fighting. Right? So, I got 30 seconds, my last beep, I'm going to hit the ground in 30 seconds. And there's no atheist in a foxhole, right? And I don't care what your beliefs are. When you know you're going to die in 30 seconds, you're going to pray to something. I don't care what it is.
Of course.
Do it, right?
Yeah.
So I said my quick prayer, and I hit that fence at like 40 miles per hour, just below my knees, and it flipped me over, and I smacked into the ground, like face down. And, it was so quiet and so dark. I had a really tinted visor. It was really, and I thought to myself, am I dead? I felt like really small, right? And so I try to move, and I can't move, and so I'm like, oh man, I'm alive. I wasn't supposed to live, right? I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't want to live, because I didn't plan anything further, but I certainly wasn't prepared to think about life being a quadriplegic.
Yeah. So, hey, Gary, we're going to hit a break here again. I want to talk about, when we come back, talk about your recovery. And I can't even imagine the uphill battle that was. But come back after the break, learn more about Gary's immaculate recovery he made.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So, Gary, again, another cliffhanger. This is good stuff, man. This is great radio. So you hit the ground. You got the dark visor on. You tried to move. You're like, holy crap, I'm alive. I mean, what's going through your head then?
Complete terror, to be honest with you, because I didn't think past. I didn't think I was going to live, and now I got to think about being a quadriplegic. It's kind of almost too much for your brain to handle at one time. So next thing I know, the day before, I had jumped with a bunch of Army guys out of Fort Bragg. So they knew, they looked up and they saw I wasn't where I was supposed to be. So they got in a truck and they followed me till I hit the ground. So they were there within a minute, and they saved my life. And I don't even know their names, but next thing I know, I'm across the street, and I'm up in the air going towards the hospital, right? Now, I jokingly say to the flight paramedic, I said, hey, when we get to altitude, can you throw me out the door? And he got mad, right? Not on my watch. I understand. I respect that, But just to figure break it up a little bit, because I honestly felt no different than a sack of meat. You know what I mean? Like, I knew it was over for me, right? I just had a life-changing event. I was powerless to do anything about it, so I'm not going to sit there and whine about it, because that's not going to change anything,
Right.
So we get to the hospital, and I could see that there's about 20 doctors and nurses and technicians all lined up, right? And there's no way I thought they were for me, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what's the point? I don't have, what can you do for me, But they were all over me. And, they must have x-rayed me with the portable x-ray machine about 3 or 4 times. They checked every inch of my body. They couldn't understand how I didn't have any broken bones or even a scratch on me, except my neck. I had broken my neck.
Yeah.
And, so right away I'm in the intensive care unit, right? And waiting for the doctor. So now I'm alone, and now my brain starts to go, right? And I'm feeling the guilt and the shame of my accident, because these are the things you think about, like, oh, what did I just do to my family? I ruined everything. It hits you like a ton of bricks, And I said, to myself, like, I can't do this. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here, So, I'm not embarrassed to talk about it, right? Especially if it can help someone, I always like say, hey, walk a mile in my shoes, right? Everybody says that. So I had to find a way to kill myself, right? That was my plan, but I can't move, right? So it's not really a realistic plan, but you're not really thinking clearly anyway, So I remember a movie I'd seen years earlier, Silence of the Lambs. I don't know, I'm sure you've seen it, right? There's a very small part in a movie where Hannibal Lecter convinces the guy in the next cell to swallow his tongue and kill himself, right? It's the tiniest part in the movie. I don't know why I even remembered it. But so I figured, all right, I can move my tongue, So I sat there for like 30 minutes trying to swallow my tongue. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but at the moment, it made perfect sense to me,
Yeah.
I was at war with my own brain, because it becomes your worst enemy, Your brain can launch you into greatness, right? Or it can drag you down to the lowest pit of hell. And that's where I was going. So, it didn't work. Doctor comes in, he says, all right, you broke your neck, you gotta get right into surgery. Okay, I wake up back in the ICU. He comes in, he says, all right, look, your spinal cord was not severed. It didn't sever, but it's severely damaged. He says, I can't answer you. I don't know if they'll ever walk again. I'm like, okay, I appreciated the honesty, because he, what he said was it was not severed. So to me, that's a small little ray of sunshine, right?
Heck yeah.
So, I went for it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, I got a chance, and again, it's like anything else. Like there's no such thing as rock bottom, right? It's a bottomless pit. Just when you think like things can't get any worse, they will. So you get into therapy, and I got this great attitude. I'm going to do this, and I'm going for it, and I'm making tiny progress, but I'm making progress, right? So things are going good. They bring me back to my room for lunch, right? They call my wife. I could tell my wife she was crying, and I'm like, what's going on? She tells me that one of our dogs had just died, right? So here I am, and it floored me. That actually floored me. I was devastated. I had to get off the phone, and it was more about like, it felt like such a loser, right? Because here I am stuck in this hospital. Things are going on at my house. I have no control over anything, and it set me back, man. Like it really did. But I sat there though, and I remembered when I was a police academy drill instructor, okay? And all the police recruits that I had trained. There's be hundreds of them, right? And I would push those recruits to their absolute breaking points, I mean, I wasn't there for them to like me.
Right.
And they didn't, you know what I mean? But I was there to teach them, how to reach deep inside themselves and find the will to survive, right? And never quit. So here I am, and it hit me, and I'm sitting here like a victim, feeling sorry for myself, and I'm about to give up and quit, right? And it kind of like, it woke me up to the sense where like, I realized that like, I'm now, well, first of all, like dying is easy, right? Living is hard, right? I could just give up and be done with it, right? You put me in a nursing home, leave me alone, and that's it. But, by me quitting, I'm about to dishonor myself and every police officer that I had ever trained, right? So now all that weight is on my shoulders too now, And, and I realized that I've become a victim and a hypocrite, like all in the same sweep, right? And that was it. That reminded me who I was, and more importantly, reminded me who I was fighting for, right? So I decided to go back to therapy, ask for more pain and more suffering. It's like the quicker that I took the pain and suffering, I could go home, right? Yeah. But I could go home not in that wheelchair, on my feet, right? That's so, as human beings, like we underestimate our ability to persevere in extreme hardship, right? We think we can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. Of course we can, when we think that we can't take it anymore, we haven't even begun to experience the things that we can take, Yeah. And I had that attitude though, that I'm going to walk out of this hospital or I'm going to die trying. There's no in between, right? I don't want to hear anybody talking about, prepare yourself. No, I wouldn't. So I just gave it everything I had, And it's tough. Like the accident has taken so much from me, right? But I realized though that it's also given me way back, like way more than it has taken, Yeah. I mean, of course I wish that it never happened, right? But I would be a fool, not to accept like kind of like the gifts that I've been given and to try to turn the bad into good,
Yeah.
So
guys, what an amazing story. Again, we're talking with Gary Pacelli this week. You can find out, we'll put this in the show notes as well. You can find out more at his website, gpacelli.com. That's gpacelli.com. And obviously go check out his book, Not My Time. We just scratched the surface on some of the things that are in the book. But unfortunately, we're out of time here, Gary, but I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.